Sergeant Jabron S. Knox was born July 13, 1988, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. He enlisted in the United States Army on January 20, 2009. Upon completion of basic training and advanced individual training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Sergeant Knox was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 377th Field Artillery in Fort Lewis, Washington. While at Fort Lewis, Sergeant Knox was assigned to HHB. In July of 2009, Sergeant Knox deployed to southern Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. While there, he served as a gunner in the platoon's personal security detachment for the battalion commander and command sergeant major. Upon redeployment, Sergeant Knox was reassigned to Bravo Battery, 1st Battalion, 377th Field Artillery. He completed multiple rotations through training exercises, serving as a gunner on an M777 Alpha II artillery piece. While stationed at Fort Lewis, Sergeant Knox and his unit prepared for their deployment to Afghanistan as a field artillery crew member on the M777 Alpha II. The unit deployed to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom 2011-2012. Sergeant Knox was killed in action on the 18th of May 2012 while performing his duties as a howitzer crew member at Fort Bostick in RC East, Afghanistan. His awards and decorations include the Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Army Achievement Medal, Army Good Conduct Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Afghan Campaign Medal, Iraqi Campaign Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, NCO Professional Development Ribbon, Army Service Ribbon, Overseas Service Ribbon, the NATO Medal, Combat Action Badge, Basic Marksmanship Qual Badge, and Meritorious Unit Commendation. He is survived by his wife and best friend, Courtney Ray Knox, and his son, Braylon Kenneth Knox. They say that a person is remembered for the life that they lived. Sergeant Knox was what every soldier should strive to be like. His dedication to his family, his soldiers, and his job were unparalleled. Everything he did with the highest level of motivation. During a fire mission, you could always hear Sergeant Knox yelling louder than anyone else to motivate his guys to push to their limit and push past it. Sergeant Knox was a fierce competitor, whether it was getting rounds down range or playing video games with the guys in the bays at night. Many nights you could find one of us in his room or with him in the day room, playing after everyone had gone to sleep. No matter what was going on, he was always smiling. Wherever he was, there was always laughing and joking going on. He lifted everyone around him, no matter how down and out they were. Sergeant Knox's life revolved around his son, Braylon. I recall the days before his son was born, listening to all the plans and ideas he had for Braylon. Everything from the clothes that he was going to wear when they came home from the hospital, to the college he was going to go to, and the professional sports team he was going to be able to watch him play for. All the way down to how he tricked his loving wife, Courtney, into picking the name that he wanted for his son. Every time he would get a new photo or video of Braylon, he would go around to everyone in the bay and show them off. There were many nights when Sergeant Knox and myself would step outside of the bay for a smoke, and he would tell me about the newest thing that Braylon had did that day. He lived every day of his life for his family. They were his motivation. Every morning and every night he had talked to his family. In the short time that I knew Sergeant Knox, his life was full of love and laughter and great times to be had by all. That is how I will remember Sergeant Knox, the happy-go-lucky hero of Bravo Battery 1st Platoon. You will live forever, always in my heart. Last night I was given the opportunity to talk with Courtney Knox, Sergeant Knox's wife, and I asked her if she had a message that I would like to relay to Sergeant Knox for her. I would like to read that message now. Quote, Dear Jabron, the many years I was so lucky to have spent with you will be the greatest of my life. Although I am heartbroken because of the loss of you and the fact that you were taken away from me and Braylon, I do not worry because I know that you are with us right now, every day. Every time that I look at Braylon, he is truly his daddy's son. In every way. I love you with every ounce of my being, and you will always be here, and in my heart, and with Braylon. Love now and always, your loving wife, Courtney.
By no means do I consider myself a perfect Catholic. I tend to avoid church on my own and attend only at the strong behest of my wife. I believe the foundation for all religion is to lead a good life and to care for your fellow man. It is difficult to articulate the methods in which to lead this good life, but these two men that we are honoring today are prime examples to follow. Sergeant Knox and I have been in 1377 since we both entered active duty. My earliest memories were of an obnoxious specialist in our battalion's PSD when we served in Iraq. Whenever I visited the street that PSD lived on, it was always his voice that I heard screaming over everyone else as he was engaged in an intense video game. I didn't come to know Sergeant Knox as a man until he was assigned to my platoon before our deployment to Afghanistan. That obnoxious specialist began to show his true colors as we conducted artillery training. The obnoxiousness I had perceived in Iraq was merely the intensity that he applied to every aspect of his life. He took his competitive nature and utilized it to become one of the finest NCOs I have had the honor to know. The intensity he employed to excel in all of his endeavors was carried over into the love he held for his family and his soldiers. Speaking at length with Sergeant Knox was one of my favorite things to do on this deployment. Our in-depth talks on everything from the curse of the goat to our fears and excitements of both newly becoming fathers are some of my fondest memories. The best thing that I can say of Sergeant Knox is that he loved with every fiber of his being, and I can only hope to strive to achieve the same in my life. I met Sergeant Knapp in 2010 as we both struggled to meet the high expectations of all artillerymen in Bravo Battery 1377. These tough standards developed us both as men and leaders. It also brought us closer together and forged a bond that not even death can break. In the hours and now days following the 18th of May, I found myself grasping for memories of Sergeant Knapp. I consider myself to be the luckiest man when I found this task to be effortless. I believe the embodiment of Sergeant Knapp as a man can be witnessed in my last memory of him. The night before the 18th, I was laying in bed and I heard Sergeant Knapp's voice from across the hall. He was talking with his wife Abby about her upcoming trip to Orlando. And despite the stress placed on his life from this deployment, his college classes, and his desires for the future, his primary concern was that Abby remember to continuously apply sunscreen to their daughter Kinsley. Being of a pale complexion myself, I found that this love and devotion to the welfare of his child, half a world away, spoke volumes of him as a man. Sergeant Knapp was similar to Sergeant Knox in the aspect that the love for his family was carried over into the love for his soldiers. These two men that we pay homage to today are the embodiment of what it means to be a good father, a good soldier, and a good friend. It will behoove all of us to emulate their actions, and if we were to take one thing from the 18th of May, it is to love with all of our heart and cherish every moment. For now, our brothers must love from afar.
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
It has been said that you can tell where a shepherd comes from by how he leads his sheep. A shepherd from the western parts of the world will get behind his sheep and drive them to where he wants them to go. From behind, he can see who has veered off. From behind, he can see he's in a position to set and push the pace, making certain they all get to the next pasture in time. This is seen as the most practical and quickest way to get your desired result. A shepherd from the eastern parts of the world, however, does not get behind and drive his sheep. Rather, he prefers to get in front and lead his flock, a style that has been passed down over centuries of time. He relies on his flock's willingness to follow him and his voice as he leads them to the next pasture, to the next water source, or the next safe haven. In order for this to work, a shepherd must spend a great deal of time developing a relationship of trust with his own sheep. He must build trust as their shepherd, proving to them that wherever he leads is the safest and best place for the flock to be. The words of Psalm 23 have been a source of great comfort and hope for many as they go through times of trial and times of darkness. This time is no different. We gather today, and if we are completely honest, we will say that we are not whole. We are hurt. We are grieving. We have lost two of our brothers in arms, two of our friends, fellow soldiers who stood and fought by our side, on our right and on our left. We've lost friends that we would laugh with, friends we would eat with, friends that we've shared memories with that can never be replaced or forgotten. We don't know how to completely fix that. We don't know how to be made completely whole again. But the words of Psalm 23, they also provide us with something more. When we look deeper, we see what we really have gained by the legacies of Sergeant Michael Knapp and Sergeant Jabron Knox. How they lived their lives, we see how a leader lives his life among men too. The Good Shepherd provides for his sheep. He gives them peace and he gives them security, even in times of uncertainty. He uses all he has to protect his sheep and to give them every good thing he can because he truly cares for them. In John chapter 10, the Good Shepherd is described as one who would lay down his very life in order to protect his own sheep. Sergeant Knapp and Sergeant Knox gave up their very lives to provide for the security, to provide for the peace, to provide for the freedom of the ones they loved. They did not get behind and from the safety of a back seat tell others where they should go. Rather, from the front, they called out so others could follow. From the front, they led so others would know their voice was a voice they could trust. They knew their guns. They knew their jobs. They knew them so well that they earned the stripes of a non-commissioned officer who would lead soldiers in battle to protect the freedoms and the lives of so many.